Hello and welcome, everyone. Very excited to have all of you here and very much looking forward to this conversation. We have got a quick 30 minutes and so much we want to cover. So several of you entered questions ahead of time. I think we've done a good job of building those in. There are a few questions that are more pertinent specifically to coach training. We have a free webinar coming up an hour from now that answers those questions. So I want to invite people to attend that one. And of course, we're happy to hang around afterward and ask questions. As we go through, we will monitor both the question panel and we're going to watch and see if you raise your hand. If you want to come on live, raise your hand. I'll unmute you individually so that you can ask your question. And we love that. It just adds energy to what the conversation. So feel free to do that or enter them in the question panel and I will monitor that as we go. Several of you asked if you were going to have access to this information after the fact, and the answer is yes. We will send out a link to the recording on our YouTube channel to everyone that registers. So that is coming out to you. All right, diving into the conversation. Where are we going today? Get ready. First, we're going to have definitions for HR, talent development, organizational development, and then coaching. From there, we will review some of the research and insights on coaching. I'm going to share with you the paradox of coaching. We will talk about combining roles and we'll talk about separating roles. We'll give you some of the coaching skills that are specific to these areas. And then of course at the end, we'll review some of the resources available to you and hopefully have time for additional questions and answers. So moving into definitions. Looking up human resources, first thing I do is go online, and Wikipedia defines it as the process of managing people and organizations in a structured and thorough manner. So if you think about different HR professionals, and of course they all have different areas of specialty from generalists into some of the specific areas, it runs the gamut: hiring, firing, pay, the benefits and the perks people get, performance management. So very specifically, the management of people in the organizations, and the focus is on making the employment relationship its best for both the management and the employees. If you look at SHRM's website, the Society for Human Resource Management, their competency model encompasses several different areas. For those of you that have completed coach training, when you look at some of these areas, you go, okay, yeah, that's something we work with as well. Specifically, the communication is a big area for us. The relationship management is a big area for us as coaches. So all of that is essential. We do a lot with global and cultural effectiveness, a lot with leadership and navigation, and of course we have our ethics. Now, SHRM cites coaching as a sub-competency. They do list it. Now, ironically, they list it under consultation. My belief is that this model was developed long before there was a clear understanding of what coaching is. So the reason it's under consultation is because they weren't clear on exactly how coaching works. We'll see the definition in a few minutes. Now, what is talent development? Back to the internet and a search there. I loved the definition from the Webster, and it is the action of teaching a person, it was funny that they said this, or animal, a particular skill or type of behavior. I think when they said or animal, they were talking about me. I'm guessing the rest of you are the person they were talking about. So the competency model for the Association for Talent Development includes a number of different areas. And what they do is they say these are areas of expertise, and then these are foundational competencies. What's significant to note is that coaching is cited as one of their areas of expertise. So it is expected that people in training and talent management develop coaching skills. Very much a part of who they are and what they're about. So their model is a systemic process to help others in terms of their abilities for setting goals, taking action, and maximizing strengths. When you look at the competencies ATD cites, they parallel very closely with the competencies from the International Coach Federation, specifically meeting ethical guidelines and professional standards, establishing a coaching agreement, establishing trust and intimacy with the client, display coaching presence, demonstrate active listening, ask powerful questions, use direct communication, create awareness, design learning opportunities, develop goals and plans, manage progress and accountability. So very much in line with what the ICF competencies are. And again, we'll look at those in just a few minutes. Organizational development. The definition there, organization development is an effort that is, and by the way, they have a website on organizational development. I went right to them. So they said it's planned, it's organization wide, managed from the top. Increase organization effectiveness and health is a key reason. And it's through planned interventions in the organization's processes using behavioral science knowledge. The model for organizational development, and again from their website, includes the systems change expert, the efficient designer side, the business advisor, the credible strategist, and the informed consultant. So there are areas of overlap. For example, if you look under credible strategist, it includes collaborative communicator, very important. Under business advisor, it includes strategic catalyst. So you're seeing things that are very much in keeping with what we do in coaching. So if we look at the definition of coaching itself, and I know many of you are familiar with this. For some of you, this may be new. I love this definition and I love the language of it because it's so powerful. Very specifically, it is a strategic partnership. This is significant because any other profession, the individual who is that professional is perceived as the expert, whereas in coaching, we're really there as a partner. And that is a huge difference. So it's a strategic partnership. The coach empowers the client. So we put them in the position of power so that they clarify their own goals, create their own action plans, move past obstacles, and ultimately achieve what they choose. This definition comes from the International Coach Federation. The 11 core competencies as defined by the International Coach Federation are sorted into 4 categories. The first one is setting the foundation. And if you remember our competencies that we saw from ATD, it really looks like they pulled them straight out of here. So the first one is meeting ethical guidelines and professional standards. The second is establishing the coaching agreement. Then you have co-creating the relationship, which includes establishing trust and intimacy with the client and your coaching presence. Our communicating effectively competencies include active listening, powerful questioning, and direct communication. Facilitating learning and results competencies include creating awareness, designing actions, planning and goal setting, managing progress and accountability. So these are our competencies straight out of the ICF and a big part of what we learn in our coach training programs. Coaching itself, and this is a quote from the Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology. It is an effective, they say effective and timely coaching can make the development and implementation of a business strategy less daunting and more successful. Another quote from you, Denison Consulting cites coaching as the organizational development tool of choice for leaders and emerging leaders. It's a tool of choice. I love that. So powerful and so very true. There's a reason. So to share some of the statistics with you, one of the studies that is phenomenal in terms of its being a long-term study, they looked at Amoco, which is now part of British Petroleum, and they looked at the coaching program there over a 10-year period of time. And their finding is that compared to other managers, the people that received the coaching consistently demonstrated improved performance, increased ratings and potential for advancement, and 50% higher average salary increases. Phenomenal, phenomenal. And what's exciting about that is when they did this study, the participants themselves attributed the results they gained to the coaching they received. So that's an exciting statistic. To keep going on that and building that, another one for you, Fortune magazine on coaching. They said specifically it's attracting America's top CEOs because it works. They looked at multiple studies on the return on investment on coaching, and what they cited is the average return on investment of 6 times. So do the math there, everybody, 600% return on investment. One of my favorite things to say every time I look at that statistic is, how can anyone afford not to have a coach? When you get that kind of ROI, that's the best investment ever. So it's awesome. Another one for you. Harvard Business Review looked at companies that bring in coaches, and they said, okay, what's the reason companies are doing this? They said 48% of the time to develop high potentials or facilitate transition. Now think about how that goes hand in hand with what you saw in the definition for HR, what you see in terms of what talent development and organizational development people are there to do. Developing high potentials, facilitating transition. 26% of the time, coaches are brought in as a sounding board. Now, this goes above and beyond, because when we're there as sounding boards, we're very typically working with the C-suite, the people at the top level. And this is a service above and beyond what's handled inside their organizations. And it's a powerful service. 12% of the time, it's, hey, we've got this great employee, something's going on, we really want to keep them, we want to address what's going on to maximize their potential here in the organization. And so the coach is brought in. Now, interestingly enough, this study did bring out that 76% of the time personal issues get addressed. This is increasingly significant because the more and more research that is done on coaching and the impact of coaching and how it makes a difference, the more we are learning how significant this piece is. Because when we take a holistic approach in our coaching relationships, you get a bigger impact. So we're seeing more on that. Now, another study, I think this is the most commonly cited one, is that coaching has a return on investment of 570%. So that's right in there with all the other studies Fortune magazine looked at. And this particular study was done by Manchester. Another study said training will increase productivity by 22%. And companies invest a lot in training. When you add coaching, they get 4 times the impact. 4 times the impact. And that study was done by Public Personnel Management. So they're looking at productivity in an organization. It tells us it really does fit with the objectives of HR, the objectives of talent development, the objectives of organizational development. Another statistic for you. I got 2 more and then we'll move into some more. So this one, 86% of companies use coaching to sharpen the skills of individuals targeted as future leaders. What does that tell us? The vast majority of organizations out there have coaching happening. And it's getting to the point where a company either has it or they're going to have it. It just makes so much sense. A last statistic. Triad Performance Technologies. They looked at the financial benefits of coaching specifically, and they looked at sales managers in the telecom industry, and they cited a return on investment of 1,000%. I love this study. They were able to look at sales numbers. It's a pure bottom line study, and that ROI is absolutely incredible. It's phenomenal. So the paradox of coaching, and what we're doing here is setting up some insight in particular in terms of coaching and how it fits with the other roles. So our paradox of coaching is that coaching skills can be used in mentoring, managing, counseling or therapy, consulting, and leading. So that means coaching is a skill set, as you saw from the competency models and from this, it's a skill set that serves HR professionals, talent development professionals, and organizational development professionals. On the flip side of that, these other roles are inappropriate when coaching. So when we're coaching, we do not mentor, manage, counsel, do therapy, consulting, nor are we leading, because those are skill sets, roles that are inappropriate when coaching. So now let's look at this. If we combine the roles of coaching and HR, what are we looking at? Coaching skills in HR very specifically include having an awareness of different personal and learning styles, the ability to ask powerful questions. Coaching activities in HR include empowering productivity and advancing careers. Coaching skills in talent development, the awareness of different learning styles when you're doing training programs, and engaging people during that training with the questions that are being asked. Coaching activities in talent development include follow-up on training programs for application and setting up the accountability for people applying the information. Coaching skills in organizational development include recognizing thought patterns and asking open questions. Coaching activities in organizational development include creating buy-in for change and empowering ownership. So the skill set fits with the roles of HR, talent development, and organizational development. If we pull all of that together, coaching is the bridge between planning, training, and effective implementation because of the focus on individual action, really empowering individuals and creating their buy-in, ownership, and motivation in terms of making things happen. What's important to know is that it's also significant that we separate the roles. So having time where, hey, this is HR function, time for talent development functions, time for organizational development functions, and yes, separate time for coaching functions. So let's go further into understanding this. In terms of coaching, there are different types of coaching. We talked about the ROI of coaching. Being clear on what isn't a coach is so important. One of the biggest things we find when we do a coach training program is that the paradigm shift between what people think a coach is and what it really is amazing. So understanding what it isn't and then what it is and how to excel as a coach. So we're going to dig into some skills. For those of you that have done coach training, this is a fabulous review. For those of you thinking about coach training, it's a sneak peek, if you will, at where it goes. So first off, in terms of types of coaching, coaching is the second fastest growing profession in the world. We have what we call life coaching. That is what is commonly known and what is often misportrayed, if you will, in the media, etc. And so life coaching has different functions, working with people of all different ages. And it runs the gamut. Sometimes it's ADHD coaching. Sometimes it's people transitioning into retirement, relocating internationally. It could be any number of things going on in life. Family coaching, relationship coaching, dating coaching, it's all part of it. We also have what we call executive coaching. That's where you see most organizations with coaching programs. And this is coaching leaders and high potentials within large organizations. Career coaching has a focus, whether it's somebody who is launching a career, changing careers, or really taking their career path and moving it forward intentionally. Business coaching is working with your small to mid-sized businesses. Wellness coaching, very big area in coaching right now and growing tremendously. It encompasses everything from personal well-being. You get into healthcare, health management as an area of wellness. So it's running the gamut there. And then coaching in academia is growing in popularity, whether it's working with the students in their academic careers, working with the teachers in their effectiveness and their role, working with the administrators on how they're running the school systems. So big area happening there as well. This gives you an idea of the range. Very specifically, how do coaching skills affect the workplace? You had a bit of a sneak peek. Let's really hone in. The communication skills that are taught and developed in coaching, in listening at a much deeper level, an awareness of what people are saying, what they're not saying, and what's behind what they're saying. The language that we use in coaching. We often joke in the coaching world that it's a different language. So I sometimes say to people, well, I speak English, I speak Spanish, and I speak coaching because it's a totally different language. It really getting that. And then how we ask questions, because coaching questions are different than any other type of question taught in any other type of professional development. The people skills that are developed in coaching are absolutely powerful in whatever capacity people function. The ability to recognize and flex to different styles, how somebody else is thinking, processing, and functioning. And then, of course, the goal setting element, a process that really does create that meaningful change. And it motivates the follow through because it's truly empowering the individuals so that they're making it happen. To give you an idea of how all of this pulls together, our coaching model staircase to success is an analogy for the coaching relationship. So if you're going to build a staircase, the first thing you do is you build the framework for the staircase. In a coaching relationship, that framework includes the training, and it's coach-specific training. It is interesting, and some of you submitted questions ahead of time. We're often asked, well, gosh, I have this experience and that training and this education. They're fabulous expertise, education, training, and experience areas. And they do come with many transferable skills. The best analogy I can give you is if you have a dentist who says, okay, now I want to be a medical practitioner, do they have to go back to school? And the answer is yes. They're a doctor. They already have training. Well, it's a different kind of training. Coaching is the same thing. It's a different training from HR, from talent development, org development, anything else you've done. It is very different. The training will develop the 11 core competencies of a coach and learning the coaching code of ethics, which again, very significant differences in a coaching code of ethics from any other code of ethics you've seen out there. With that foundation in place, the framework for the staircase, the first step is a coaching agreement. In coach training, one of the things that we discuss and work with is that the agreement comes in stages. You initially have a conversation with somebody about what coaching is and is not. You move from there into a written agreement for the coaching relationship. And you move from there into every single coaching session, having the client define what they want to gain from that coaching session. The next step is understanding. It is incumbent on the coach to understand the client. Who are they? What's going on for them? What are their influencing factors and competing priorities? How do they think, process, and function? Because with that understanding, the coach is in a place to effectively adjust and work with the client and who they are. And this in turn develops rapport. And with that rapport, you truly open up the communication that happens in the coaching relationship, that listening at a very deep level, the questions, the clear, direct language that we use, which in turn supports exploration for the client of what their possibilities and opportunities are. That in turn supports them developing strategies, which moves them toward their doorway called success. So that brings all of our competencies into how the relationship works. So let's keep going with what we were setting up. First off, what isn't a coach? A coach is not an advisor. An advisor is somebody who tells you what to do. A coach is not a consultant. A consultant comes in, analyzes what's going on in the organization or with an individual, and creates a plan and says, hey, here's what to do and how to do it. We don't do that as coaches. We are not mentors. A mentor is somebody with expertise, and they're there to pass on their wisdom and their expertise. And yes, they give advice. Coaches are not counselors. And with that, let me say we're not mental health professionals. We don't do counseling. We don't do therapy. We're not psychologists, psychiatrists, nor are we social workers. What's different? Mental health professionals have very specific training and licensure. They do assess and diagnose what's going on with individuals. They prescribe course of action and in some cases medication. Those are all outside the realm of coaching. The easiest way to differentiate that one is a counselor or a mental health professional is there to help somebody become whole. A coach is there to work with somebody who is whole on where they want to go in the future. We are not managers. A manager has a responsibility to an organization, and they're focused on what's happening from that level. They tell people what to do and what the end objective is. And we are not trainers. We're not there to give information or advice. We're there to put people in charge of being their own best expert. So specifically, a sneak peek at coaching, we are there as a sounding board, a chance for people to think out loud. We challenge their thinking, we expand their thinking, and support that exploration. We are explorers of perspectives so that they consider different perspectives. And we are there as strategic partners. Again, that word partner. So what does that mean? Well, in terms of the skill set as a coach, we're aware of and adjust to different personal styles. Is this person emotion or are they logic? Are they passive or are they aggressive in their communication style? And as we look at all these different individuals, we consider how they perceive others in their world and how they interact with each other, because that plays into their own planning and developing of strategies. So a skill set in coaching is that awareness of different people and how they approach things, as well as how to adjust to them. The way we ask questions, a sneak peek here, coaching questions are short and simple. They focus on the future, that forward focus. They are completely open to what the possibilities are. And most often, they start with what or how. Coaching is focused on goal setting, the future. When a client talks about what they don't want, the coach is going to ask them for what they do want. It's so common for people to say, I don't want to be stressed, I don't want to be overloaded, or whatever else they don't want. And we challenge them and push them to ask for what they do want. We ask them their internal motivation for change so that they're defining their own reasons. And we support them being proactive. We ask them what they can control, what is possible for them to do. So what does all of this mean for you? Well, figure out for yourself, what will you do? That's a question for you. What do you want to do in terms of developing coaching as a skill set for yourself? How do you want to apply coaching in whatever role you're involved in, whether it's HR, talent development, or organizational development? And how does coaching fit in your career? Resources for you include the International Coach Federation, the Center for Coaching Certification, and the Center for Coaching Solutions. So the International Coach Federation is our gold standard in terms of what coaching is. This is where the code of ethics comes from, our competencies come from, and the standards in terms of coach training and being a professional coach. The Center for Coaching Certification is a resource for the coach training, moving toward ICF membership and credentialing. And then the Center for Coaching Solutions is available to support you in coaching programs, whether you are looking for support in developing a coaching program, managing it, training coaches, or bringing in coaches. Additional information sources include our blog, the books that we publish each year, and these free webinars that we offer. We are available to you if you want to have a quick phone call or do an email. And we're available for outsourcing. We outsource for coaching programs, training, and the coaching services. Because we've used up our time, I want to give you all something. First off, those of you that are here and want a free 30 minutes that's available to you, I will send out the recording to today. And with that, we'll let you know if you reply to my email and you request a link to my calendar. I am happy to schedule time to talk about coaching program support, outsourcing, or providing coaching, whatever it is that's going to make sense for you. Think about for yourself your own action plan. A recommendation: if you've done your coach training, review it. Intentionally apply those skills, creating that plan. If you haven't done coach training, look at it. And for those of you that have started and done your initial training, look at completing your coach training. Engage a coach for yourself, and of course, where you want it, coaching program support. I do hope we've answered the questions you have. I've been monitoring the question panel. I think we're building that in. Happy to stay on afterwards and answer additional questions. I do want to take a moment and thank all of you for being here. We appreciate your time and very much value having you here, exploring this information, and of course, being part of the community. Do let us know how we can be helpful. Those of you, if you have an additional question that we haven't answered, please either raise your hand or type it in so that we know. And then what I will say is, as I mentioned, there are a couple of you asked for information on coaching certification specifically. We've got the free webinar on that one starting in just a few minutes, let me say 28 minutes. So we'll move into that and be available to you there. And I am seeing in your notes and in the question panel, I'm seeing your thanks. Glad this was helpful to you. Thank you as well. It does seem more complete, so I'll go ahead and close this out. So thank you, everybody, and make it a great day.